Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. Hemali here, and thank you so much for joining me today. As you guys know, we are living through a pandemic right now, which is so absolutely wild for me to say. I can't believe this is happening, and it's super unfortunate. And this also means that anxiety levels are probably at an all-time high. Whether you've already been suffering from anxiety or you're just experiencing the anxiety now because of all the uncertainty that's going on, this video might be for you. I wanted to make this video because anxiety and anxiety attacks is something that I've suffered from for quite a while now. I had it really bad about 4 years ago, and I've slowly learned to kind of handle it better and learn how to calm myself down over these past 4 years. So I would say everyone has suffered anxiety at some point in their life, but about 4 years ago for me, my anxiety really took off. And if you guys want to know what happened with that, I will leave the videos where I talk about that in the description below so you guys can watch my journey on anxiety and depression. I would have anxiety attacks and panic attacks pretty much almost every day, and they were really bad. It was a lot to get through, and I went through this phase in my life for about, I would say, almost 3 years. It wasn't until last year that I really learned how to kind of calm myself down and be able to control myself a little bit more. Now, with that being said, I still do have anxiety attacks. I still do have panic attacks here and there, but they're not as often as I used to. Like, I'm not getting them every day like I used to. And in the past, I have suffered from multiple anxiety or panic attacks in a day, up to like 4 or 5 in a day. And yeah, I can honestly say they're absolutely awful to deal with. If you are experiencing these type of attacks, I'm really sorry to hear that, and I hope that this video can help you get through the situation a little bit better. Now, before I get into this video, I just want to make it very clear that I am not a medical professional, and if you do need medical attention, you need to go to the right person to get that kind of help. This video is solely based off of my experience alone, and what I feel and what I go through, and I'm hoping that it makes someone out there feel like they're not alone in this situation, and maybe even discover what they're feeling at the moment too, because when I first started getting anxiety attacks, I had no idea what they were, and that was a question that I've been getting a lot on my Instagram as well, was how do you know you're having an anxiety attack? So I think some people don't even realize what's happening to them. It just feels like such a foreign feeling. So I'm hoping that me talking out about it kind of helps you guys realize the emotions that you're going through right now, and also help you feel not so alone, because it can be a very scary feeling. Okay, let's get into it. I've experienced 2 different types of attacks. I've had anxiety attacks and I've had panic attacks. They are different, but they are pretty similar. I'm going to read you guys the definition of an anxiety attack versus a panic attack, and I'm going to read it right off my book so that I don't mess this up and you guys can really understand the difference. So an anxiety attack involves the fear of a specific occurrence or problem that could happen, whereas a panic attack is a sudden episode of intense fear that triggers severe physical reactions when there is no real danger or apparent cause. Basically, an anxiety attack happens because you're fearful of something and you're worried about something, whereas a panic attack can kind of happen at random and you don't really know what triggers it. Because I've experienced so many anxiety and panic attacks over the course of 4 years, I'm able to differentiate when I'm having an anxiety attack versus a panic attack, and honestly that just came with experience, unfortunately. Some of you guys may not be able to differentiate between the two because this is also very new to you. So I guess the main difference that you need to know is that an anxiety attack happens because you've kind of been worrying about something over a period of time, and it's like building up, and it's making you very anxious, and then you start kind of losing control. And a panic attack is more so you just have no idea what's going on. It just happens all of a sudden. You feel like you're losing control. You might think you're having a heart attack or dying or something like that. It is very sudden, and it's very overwhelming. Not saying that an anxiety attack isn't overwhelming, but there is more of a buildup to an anxiety attack. I personally feel like a panic attack is a little bit worse, just because at least with an anxiety attack, you kind of know what you're worried about, whereas a panic attack, you have no idea what you're worried about. So at least with an anxiety attack, you can kind of reason and come up with why you shouldn't be worried about those type of things, whereas a panic attack is just so sudden and random, and you don't even know what you're feeling, that you can't really reason with yourself sometimes. An anxiety attack and a panic attack have very, very similar symptoms. So the symptoms that I experience when I go through one of these is I hyperventilate, like I cannot breathe. I start breathing like this. And if you even try that at home, like you'll start to feel, I guess, like that panic feeling in your chest. Your head starts to get really light and you feel really dizzy. I basically end up collapsing wherever I am. I don't faint. Sometimes I do. Like I have had that happen to me in the past, but it's not very often. But I will kind of collapse. Like I can't hold my body weight. I feel very weak. I feel very faint. I feel very dizzy. So I'll just like end up sitting or plopping down onto the ground, or like say if I'm with Victor, I'll like kind of fall onto him or whatever it is when that happens. My heart will also be racing. Like it beats so fast and it feels like it's just gonna like pop out of my chest. I'll also start to get really sweaty and hot, so I will start like taking off my clothes because I feel like having clothes on like makes me feel even more suffocated, like I can't breathe. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where you've been dehydrated and you feel like, you know, suffocated and can't breathe. Like that's kind of how I start to feel at that point too. I also start shaking a lot, so it depends on like how bad my anxiety attack is, but like usually my hands are shaking, like you can like, they'll be like this, and then if it starts getting really, really bad, like my whole body will shake. I will like rock back and forth like this, my legs will shake, and I'll just like go like this and like be like pretty much in like fetal position doing that. It's so weird. It looks like something out of a movie, honestly, but like I feel like I can't control myself in that situation. I will be like bawling my eyes out. I will be crying like crazy. I just look like a hot mess. Like I cry so much to the point where my eyes swell up because I feel like I'm losing control, and it's just scary. Like I feel really, really scared. I would feel really, really scared in that situation because it feels like everything's kind of happening at once. And more towards like the end of the anxiety attack, I have a awful headache. So like this would be like right at the peak and then like coming down from it, and then after I've come down from it, I will get a really, really, really bad headache. For me too, when my anxiety attacks or panic attacks are really bad, I get super nauseous and I will sit in front of the toilet and like almost like throw up, or I have thrown up, and like my stomach just feels so unsettled and I start like heaving. So yeah, that's like when it goes really extreme. Now this happens when you're having both an anxiety attack and a panic attack. For me, how I notice that I'm having a panic attack is that I'll kind of be going through my day pretty fine, and then all of a sudden I feel really, really worried. I feel kind of short of breath. My chest feels really heavy, and it's a very unexplainable. Like I have no idea why I'll be feeling like that, and I'll just start crying, and again, and then it goes into the shortness of breath, and then the dizziness and fainting and all that stuff. And when this happens, I feel really detached from my surroundings, and I feel like all loss of control. Like I feel like I have no idea what's going on. I feel very, like everything seems very fuzzy and blurry. And it also sometimes feels like you're dying because you have no idea where it came from and why this is happening to you. And these panic attacks or anxiety attacks can last like an upward of like 10 minutes. So it can be a very long time to be like hyperventilating or feeling this way. And it like time ends up moving in like slow-mo because you have no idea when it's gonna stop. And then an anxiety attack kind of differs from that because you might feel it coming on a little bit more. You might be constantly worried about something. So for example, maybe you have a big project that's due and you don't know if you did it right and you think you're gonna mess it up. And that worry is just on your mind and it might lead to an anxiety attack. So you know exactly what is causing your anxiety attack. Like you know what exactly you are worried about, and you feel very like distressed and restless. I get really, really irritable before I'm having an anxiety attack. Like I know it's kind of coming on and I feel like everything is bothering me. Like so one little thing can trigger me and I can go off and just have that attack because I can't kind of maintain myself anymore. And that's kind of what happens. I feel like you lose composure. Like you're already having the anxiety, and you already feel fearful and scared and distressed and worried and whatever. But it gets to a point where you just can't contain yourself anymore and can't like, I guess, be normal, and you lose all control and then you have an attack. So that's kind of the main difference. That's how I know whether I'm having an anxiety attack or a panic attack. Now, I've described to you like my worst anxiety and panic attacks. Maybe you don't feel all of those symptoms, but you still could be having an anxiety or panic attack. Like you could still have your heart racing, you could feel dizzy, faint, hyperventilating, short of breath, whatever, and not feel like nauseous or dizzy or any of those things. So, there are like different severities of it, and I have experienced those as well. So just because you don't have everything that I described doesn't mean that you aren't kind of having a panic or anxiety attack. Personally, I haven't gone to a therapist or anything like that. I have talked to my doctor about it, and she wanted to put me on anxiety medication, but I refused to do that. I just didn't want to be dependent on a pill. That's just not who I am. And I've also heard in the past that you end up becoming very reliant on it, and that's just not something that I wanted to do. I knew this was something that I could get over or that I could control. I just needed to figure it out for myself. So for the last 4 years, that's what I've been doing. I suffered from these anxiety and panic attacks for about 3 years of my life, almost every day, I would say, sometimes even multiple times a day. And I've come to a point now where I still do have them, but closer to when I get my period only, and I don't have them on a regular basis like I used to. What I do when I'm actually having the anxiety attack is I like to close my eyes and take deep breaths. So I'll like close my eyes and go to help kind of calm my breath down, and that will help. And it will take a while because you are hyperventilating or are short of breath, so you'll need to do that for quite a bit in order for you to like really calm down. Another thing I like to do is I like to lie down because I feel super dizzy and I can't hold up my body weight, so lying down kind of just like helps me relax and let go. Another thing I like to do really depends on if you have someone there or not that can help you do this, but one thing Viktor does that really helps calm me down is he'll hold me, and like he'll like hold me really tight and like hug me and like put some pressure on my chest, and that helps calm me down too. And when I don't have him to do that, I will like hold my heart like this, and I'll lie down and I'll just like take deep breaths, so it makes it feel like someone is like holding on to me, and I'll close my eyes too and just like picture someone holding on to me to help calm myself down. I also, in the situation, even though it's hard, try to remind myself that this is an anxiety attack or a panic attack, so it will pass, and I will just keep saying that to myself. I'll say like, this too shall pass, or that I will be okay, and this is just an anxiety attack, and I'll just repeat that to myself a lot so that my mind can finally understand that this is like just an in the moment thing and I don't need to worry. Now, those are things that I like to do while the attack is happening, but there's a lot of things that I do to help maintain my composure so that I can avoid having an attack altogether. And this was all discovered for me through trial and error, and I do think this portion of it will vary from person to person because I think we all handle our emotions very, very differently. And I think that anxiety and panic attacks can come from emotions that you just kind of haven't dealt with properly yet and you don't know how to deal with, so it just builds up and it releases in a certain way. And I think that a big part of this journey is figuring out how to let out your emotions and feelings and whatever's going on inside of you in a healthy way. So for me, these are the things that worked. Every morning I will journal and I will set my intentions that morning. So I will say the things that I want to see in my future or that I want to happen. That way, those are the things that are on my mind, and that's what I will focus on throughout the day. I will also write in this journal 5 things that I am grateful for, and I will try to make that 5 different things every day that I am grateful for. And I think sometimes that can be a little bit hard when you first start off, but as you keep doing it, it gets easier and easier. And they can be very, very simple things like, I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I am grateful that I have food to eat. I am grateful that I am healthy. Like, just everyday things that you should be grateful for. Doing this really helps reprogram your mind and help you realize that there's a lot of good things that are happening in your life, not just bad things. I also practice Reiki. I think Reiki is something that completely changed my life around, and I started practicing Reiki about 2 years ago in 2018, and I feel like it started giving me a completely different perspective on life. And Reiki is basically like energy healing. I felt like I had a lot of toxic energy inside of me and it needed to be released, and that's what Reiki does. It helps cleanse those energies. My Reiki master is Mandika. I will leave her Instagram handle below so that you guys can check her out, follow her on Instagram, and DM her if you do want to try it out for yourself. I will make a separate video on Reiki and my journey with Reiki because I think there's a lot to say about it, and that it's not really always for everyone, because you do need to go in with an open mind and open heart for it to really work. So I feel like that's kind of that one really depends on who you are as a person. And through Reiki, I started meditating every morning too. I try to heal my body of any toxic energies, and I spend about 20 minutes in the morning doing that. And just like journaling, I set my intentions with it. So I'll clear out what I want to clear out, and I will bring in what I want to see. And I do that all through my meditation. Another thing that really helped me was exercise. It made me feel really good. It helped me relieve some stress, and I think this is something that works for a lot of people, but you have to be very disciplined for it. And now when I feel like I don't go and exercise, I do feel it kind of having a toll on my body. So exercise is a great way to release stress and emotions as well. Being able to talk to someone, I'm very blessed that I have Vikra in my life and I'm able to openly talk about how I'm feeling. I think a really big part of preventing anxiety and panic attacks from happening is being able to speak your mind and speak your heart, and not a lot of people have the ability to do that. So if you do have someone that you can talk to and openly like be yourself around, use that to your advantage, because it will help you heal a lot faster. The more you keep things inside, the more all of this anxiousness and panic will build up and release in just ways you don't want it to release. And then finally, I had to change my diet a bit. One of the biggest things I had to change was cutting out sugar. Sugar is bad as it is, but it is even worse for girls. So any of my girls watching this, especially around your period time, if you notice that you're having like crazy mood swings, feel like completely uncontrollable, sugar aids with that. So if you cut out sugar, you'll notice that your mood swings or anything like that will be a lot more tamed. Sugar is literally a drug. Like, it is probably the worst thing that you could be putting in your body. So cutting that out really helped. And then there's a lot of other foods that can mess with your anxiety and depression and panic attacks as well. So things like coffee, processed foods, fried foods, high-fat dairies, things like that. So watch your diet, see what you're consuming a lot of, and try to minimize it. I mean, you don't need to get rid of it completely, but you do need to understand that you have to have it in moderation. Like, you can't just be eating like that all the time, which is what I did. Like, I find with sugar, I cut it out. I limit myself. I don't completely cut it out because I have such a sweet tooth, but I have limited myself. I won't like have an vanilla iced coffee every single day like I used to. When I eat cookies, I'll only have one rather than having like 5 or 6, which I used to do. So that was a really big thing that helped with lowering my anxiety and panic attacks as well. Anyways, guys, that is my experience with anxiety and panic attacks. I really hope this video helps you. If it does, let me know in the comments below. If you guys have any questions that you want me to answer further about this topic, please leave them in the comments below as well. I'm sending lots of love and light to anyone experiencing this right now. It will get better. I promise you it will get better. It just takes some work, so just hang in there. And I just want to end this video off by saying thank you so much for all the love and support you guys constantly show me. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!